Sarah was one of those women who never allowed herself to be late. Her day was scheduled down to the minute. Morning coffee, a light breakfast, a kiss for her son, a hug for her husband, and then off she went, smoothly, precisely like the well-tuned mechanism of the Swiss watch that James had given her for their 5th wedding anniversary. "Sweetheart, you forgot your phone," James called out as she stood in the doorway. "What would I do without you?" Sarah smiled, grabbing her smartphone. "Laura, make sure Ethan eats his yogurt. He refused it yesterday." The young Nanny nodded, holding the 3-year-old boy who was enthusiastically telling her about dinosaurs. Laura listened attentively, chiming in with, "Wow, really?" at just the right moments. Ethan loved it. Sarah noticed it right away when they hired her a year ago. Laura had a rare gift for listening. Sarah gave the nanny an appraising look. Laura was about 5 years younger than her and James, with expressive brown eyes and chestnut hair tied up in a messy bun. She usually showed up in jeans and oversized sweaters, but today she wore a light dress with a floral pattern. Maybe it was the warmer weather, Sarah thought, not giving it much attention until later. As she closed the door behind her and got into her car, Sarah realized she'd forgotten her bag with the documents. She had a meeting with a major client at 10 a.m., and the bag contained all her prepared materials and the contract. Grimacing in frustration, she returned to the house. The door opened silently. 7 years ago, when they first bought the place, James had personally oiled all the hinges so they wouldn't wake Ethan if they came home late, he'd said. The memory tugged at her heart. The bag was in the entryway, right where she'd left it. Sarah reached for the handle when she heard laughter. Feminine, playful laughter, the kind that bubbles up in private moments. No, it couldn't be. She froze. "Come on, James." Laura's voice sounded different, laced with tones not meant for an employer's ears. The air around Sarah thickened, becoming almost tangible. She moved quietly toward the sound, each step heavy, like wading against a strong current. "Oh, come on. She's already gone." James's voice came, low and gravelly, a tone Sarah only heard in their most intimate moments, when the bedroom door was locked and the world shrank to the size of their bed. Sarah stopped at the slightly open kitchen door. The urge to look battled, a paralyzing fear of seeing something that would change her life forever. "Just wait until you hear the car pull away, then you can keep up your little love gestures," Laura said, laughing again. Moving as if in a dream, Sarah peeked through the crack. James stood close, pressing Laura against the kitchen table, his hand gently brushing a strand of hair from her face, the same gesture he used to use with her. Laura smiled up at him, her gaze filled with the tenderness reserved for someone you love. Time stopped. Somewhere far off, in another world, the wall clock ticked, the coffee maker hummed, and 3-year-old Ethan watched cartoons in his room. But here, in this bubble of frozen time, there were only the 3 of them, husband, wife, and the woman between them. "Come on," James whispered. "It's not the first time, is it?" Those words hit like stones dropping into a well. So, it had happened before. How many times? A month? 6 months? The whole year Laura had worked for them? "You didn't even want me to take this job," Laura purred. Sarah remembered their argument, James's insistent objections to hiring a nanny, which she'd chalked up to concern for Ethan's safety and their budget. "Letting a complete stranger into our home," he'd said. She'd persuaded him, convinced him, and brought into their home the woman now standing in her husband's arms. "I didn't know what a gift we'd be getting," James replied with a smile. Sarah's legs felt rooted to the floor. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. Thoughts swirled in her head. Ethan, the mortgage, their joint business, her parents in another city, the vacation they'd planned for the summer. What should she do? Storm into the kitchen and make a scene? Leave, pretending she saw nothing? Pack her things and take her son? She didn't know. The woman who always had a plan, a tight schedule, and a thought-out strategy, was utterly helpless in the face of betrayal. In the nursery, Ethan started crying. The sharp sound snapped Sarah out of her daze. She heard Laura say, "I need to check on the little guy." "Go," James replied. "I'll make coffee." We got the whole day ahead. The whole day, while Sarah was at meetings, discussing contracts and planning ad campaigns, these two would be enjoying each other's company in her house, near her son. She stepped back into the shadow of the hallway as Laura passed by, not noticing her, and disappeared into the nursery. Sarah heard her soothing Ethan with a gentle voice, telling him a story. Then something clicked in Sarah's mind, like the final piece of a puzzle falling into place. A plan formed instantly, clear and sharp as crystal. She quietly walked to the front door, opened it, and closed it loudly, as if she'd just come back. "Ethan, Mommy's home," she called out. "I forgot my bag." Footsteps. James appeared in the hallway, his face a perfect mask of surprise. "Sarah, something wrong?" She smiled broadly, as if nothing had happened. "Can you believe it? I got to the office and realized I forgot my bag with the documents. I got a big meeting today." He nodded. "It's right there in the entryway." "Already grabbed it," Sarah said, lifting the bag. "Where's Ethan?" "With Laura." "In the nursery." James shrugged. "He's being fussy today." "My poor baby." She shook her head. "I'll go give him another kiss." Sarah walked into the nursery. Laura was sitting on the floor next to Ethan, who was engrossed in building something with his blocks. Her cheeks were slightly flushed. "Sarah, did you forget something?" the nanny asked. "Yeah, my bag with the documents." Sarah walked over to her son, kissed the top of his head. "James says you're being fussy?" "No," Laura replied. "We're playing now. Everything's fine." "Wonderful." Sarah straightened up. "Laura, can I have a word?" They stepped into the hallway. James lingered in the kitchen, pretending to be busy with the coffee. "Listen, I have a request," Sarah began. "Tonight's our 7th anniversary with James. I'd like to surprise him. Could you leave a bit early, say around 5? I'll come home early and make something special for dinner." Laura blinked. "Of course, no problem. Just don't tell James, okay? Let it be a surprise." "Absolutely," Sarah smiled. "Thank you, Laura. And congratulations on your work anniversary with us." "Thanks." Laura nodded. "See you tonight, then." Sarah left the house, got in her car, and drove toward the office. At the first stoplight, she pulled out her phone and dialed a number. "Alex, good morning. Listen, remember that project in Miami you offered me a stake in? I'm in." "Yes, right now." "No, James is fine with it. We discussed it. I'll come by tonight to sign the papers. And one more thing. Can you recommend a good family law attorney?" At exactly 6 p.m., Sarah returned home. As expected, Laura was already gone. James greeted her in the living room, unusually animated. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her cheek. "Productive," Sarah replied. "Yours?" "Same old," he shrugged. Laura said she had to leave early for something urgent. "Oh, really?" Sarah feigned surprise. "Too bad she didn't give us a heads up." "How's Ethan?" "We had a great time." James nodded toward the nursery, where their son's laughter echoed. "Built a spaceship out of blocks." "Wonderful." Sarah smiled. "Honey, can you help Ethan wash up? I'll set the table. I've got something special planned for dinner." When James and Ethan headed to the bathroom, Sarah quickly pulled out the documents she'd prepared earlier and placed them on the dining table next to the plates. Then she opened a bottle of wine she'd bought on the way home. James returned, settling Ethan at the table. "What's for dinner?" "I'm starving." "A surprise," Sarah said, pouring wine into their glasses. "By the way, do you remember what today is?" James froze. "Wednesday." "And also," she smiled, "it's been exactly 1 year since Laura started working for us. I thought we should celebrate. She's so good with Ethan." James relaxed. "Oh, right, 1 year already. And 7 years since we've been together," Sarah added. On one hand, it feels like forever. On the other, like just a day. Yeah, time flies. He raised his glass. To us. To the truth. She clinked her glass with his, and to new beginnings. They ate dinner, chatting about small daily events. Sarah shared news about a big deal she'd closed and mentioned plans for business expansion. James nodded, asked questions, but seemed distracted, his mind elsewhere. After dinner, Sarah tucked Ethan into bed, reading him his favorite story. Exhausted from a busy day, the boy fell asleep almost instantly. When she returned to the living room, she found James holding the documents, his voice tense. "Sarah, what is this?" "Divorce papers," she replied calmly, "and an agreement on property division. I've already signed my part." James paled. "Have you lost your mind? Divorce? What happened?" Sarah sat across from him, folding her hands in her lap. "This morning, when I came back for my bag, I heard your conversation with Laura, and I saw you in the kitchen." James was silent, then his face twisted. "Sarah, it's not what you—" She raised a hand, stopping him. "Please, don't say it's not what you think, or it only happened once, or it meant nothing. Save us both the time." "But you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Sarah said quietly, careful not to wake Ethan. "I heard you say it's not the first time. So this has been going on. I don't know for how long, and honestly, I don't want to know." James sat with his head bowed. "You're right," he finally said. "I was a jerk, but I don't want a divorce. We can fix this. I'll fire Laura. We'll go to a counselor." "No," Sarah shook her head. "It's not just about Laura. It's about you betraying my trust, betraying our family. And worst of all, doing it in our home, right next to our son. That's unforgivable. I love you," he said, looking into her eyes. "And Ethan, you're my family. If you loved us, you wouldn't have done this." She stood. "The papers state that I keep the house and Ethan. You get the business and the car. I think that's fair. What about our company? We built it together." "I'm stepping away," she shrugged. "I've got an offer for a partnership in another project. I've already accepted." James clenched his fists. "You planned all this in one day. I make decisions quickly." "You know that," Sarah said, allowing herself a bitter smile for the first time. "Especially when there's no choice. You had a choice. We could have." "No, James. Some things can't be fixed. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt." She sighed. "You have until tomorrow to pack your things. You can stay in the guest room tonight. I'll tell Ethan you're going on a business trip, and we'll figure out how to tell him the truth later, gradually." "Sarah, please, don't make this harder than it already is." She headed toward the stairs. "And don't call Laura tonight. She's had a rough day, too. I called the agency and reported that she showed up to work drunk and left Ethan unattended. I doubt she'll be working as a nanny again." "You couldn't have done that," James said, stunned. "Why not?" Sarah paused halfway up the stairs. "You destroyed my family. I destroyed her career. We're not even close to even, but it's the best I can do right now." She went upstairs, entered the bedroom, and closed the door. Only then, alone, did Sarah let the tears flow. She cried silently, clutching a pillow as she had in childhood when she didn't want her parents to hear. The next morning, when she came down to the kitchen, James was gone. His toothbrush, razor, and a few shirts had vanished from the closet. On the table were the signed divorce papers and a short note. Asterisk, "I'm sorry. I was a fool. Take care of Ethan. I'll help however I can." Asterisk. Sarah folded the papers, tossed the note in the trash, and started making breakfast for her son. "Mom, where's Dad?" Ethan asked when he woke up. "Dad's gone on a business trip, sweetie," she replied, setting a bowl of oatmeal in front of him. "He'll come back to visit you soon." "Is Aunt Laura coming today?" Sarah shook her head. "No, honey. Aunt Laura won't be coming anymore. But we'll have a new nanny soon, and I'm sure you'll like her." Ethan nodded thoughtfully, chewing his breakfast. "Can we play astronauts today?" "Absolutely," Sarah smiled, feeling the tight knot in her chest slowly begin to loosen. After breakfast, there were challenges ahead. Explaining things to her parents, starting a new job, navigating life without the support she was used to. But she would manage. She always did. That evening, after putting Ethan to bed, Sarah sat on the patio with a glass of wine. Twilight settled over the garden, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. She suddenly remembered the first evening after they bought the house, sitting here with James. "Can you believe this house is ours?" he'd said. "Our kids will grow up here. We'll grow old here." She took a sip of wine. Life rarely unfolds as we plan. The invisible threads of fate weave their own pattern, sometimes tearing apart what seemed unbreakable and tying together what was never meant to be. "This is just the beginning," Sarah thought, gazing at the stars. "A new chapter. And this time, I'll write myself." Thank you for listening to the story until the end. Subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and loved ones. It motivates us to keep working on new stories every day. Don't miss the next amazing story that's about to appear on your screen. We're very grateful to have you with us. See you soon.